Was this yet another attempt by Pakistan to try and engineer a 26/11 style attack? With us on the Newshour debate is Keti Singh, former secretary of the MEA, Sushant Sareen, senior fellow with the Vivekanand International Foundation, Maruf Raza, strategic affairs analyst, retired Commodore G.J. Singh, defence analyst, is with us from Bengaluru. Group captain, retired Sultan M. Hali, defence analyst, is live with us from Islamabad. And we're also joined by Tahir Malik, political analyst and senior journalist. In a while from now, we'll be joined by Maiza Hamid, who's a member of the National Assembly of the PMLN. But I want to start with you, Sushant Sareen. Would it be possible for this boat to enter Indian waters without the active complicity of the Coast Guard of Pakistan? They wanted the boat in our waters. What was the bigger plan? Sushant Sareen. All right, we'll try and go across to Sushant Sareen in just a bit. But Mr. Keti Singh, if you'd like to take that question, do you think that without the active complicity of the Pakistani authorities, this boat would have made its way into the Indian waters?
It's difficult. I think, look, we must begin with that is a portion of the maritime boundary between India and Pakistan where fishing boats cross over, and that's why we've seen so many of our people arrested on that side. We've been arresting their fishermen. So fishing boats do operate in that area where it is an unmarked, indeterminate boundary with rival claims on where a maritime boundary is and where Pakistan's is. It has something to do with Sir Creek. Till we settle the Sir Creek problem, that maritime boundary can't be defined exactly where it is. Now, whether it is with the connivance of the Pakistani government or not, only intelligence agencies and investigation will tell us. But the fact is that there is a boat that had crossed, and I'm very glad there was good coordination between intelligence and the Coast Guard. Though I would have been happy if they had trailed it and seen where it was going and then finally caught it before it committed the act, because that is how normally in the West, when they are trailing someone, they trail him till they get to know what the person is up to. Now we can only guess because the boat is destroyed. It'll be almost impossible to recover the bodies or whatever was on the boat, depending on the depth of the waters, but I think it'll be almost impossible. We've seen what's happened to the AirAsia flight. Even in shallow waters, to recover something is very, very difficult.
Mr. Singh, there is a reason why.
Now it will be just guesswork or the intercepts.
No, Mr. Singh.
Intercepts. If you have the intercepts, they will tell the story.
True, Mr. Singh, we've got access to some of the intercepts, and that shows, and there is also details that a wireless set has been recovered, a wireless set similar to that used by the Pakistan Army, and there is a larger reason why 3 of the Coast Guard ships are still around the area of the wreckage. They are still in the high seas. There is a reason why we're still awaiting the details, and we'll share that the moment we have a confirmation on that front. But first, going across to Sushant Sareen, I'm sorry we did not have your audio through at that time. Now we can hear you correctly, Sushant Sareen. What's your point of view here? Because again, what happened in 2008, the origin point was somewhere around the same region as the origin point of this boat in Karachi, Keti Bunder.
No, that is true, but that is a place from where normally fishing vessels also take off. Now it is possible that if it was a terrorist vessel, it could have escaped the it could have done what it was doing without the say-so of the authorities, but that's quite unlikely because the Pakistan Maritime Security Force has been pretty efficient in manning its own waters. So that's a bit of a stretch on that one. The other thing, and that's the more important thing, that normally if these guys were smugglers or fishermen, smugglers and fishermen are not exactly in the habit of blowing themselves up or committing suicide. Fishermen know the perils of entering waters of India. They know that if they get arrested, they probably have to spend a couple of months, maybe even a year or so in captivity before they are repatriated to their countries. So there is really no incentive for them to kill themselves or blow themselves. This is something which normally jihadis do. And I'm assuming that whatever has been put out, there are some questions which still need to be answered from the press release which has come out. But I'm sure that over the next couple of days, there will be a lot more clarity and a lot more information of what exactly transpired on the high seas. But whatever we have as of now seems to suggest that obviously these guys were up to some hanky-panky. Ambassador Singh's point is well taken. You could have followed these guys up to a point, but up to to what point would you have followed them?
Absolutely. And let's bring in Tahir Malik now. Let's bring in Tahir Malik, Sushant Sareen. Tahir Malik, why is it that despite international attention, despite having faced first-hand the backlash of fostering terror, Pakistan continues to persist with these kind of tricks, trying to smuggle in jihadis, as Sushant Sareen said, into India, into Indian waters and then onto Indian soil?
First of all, I would like to say something as a journalist. I mean, I am as a citizen of subcontinent. I would like to share something with the viewers. There is total blackout in Pakistan. There is absolutely no information for me. I mean, I have a call from India because something has happened. And I was smiling in my heart. I am living in a global village, so-called global village. Living in Lahore, I know almost everything what is happening in London, in New York, but in India. The same thing I see with India. I think the thing which is need to, I am taking the Pakistani position. I think we both countries, the people are living in dark. I have no idea. And the second thing which is bothering me as a journalist, I've been listening you guys, and you are not differentiating between opinion and effect. You all sound like Pakistan is standing in front of you and you have given the statement. I mean, this is surprising. And in Pakistan media, let me share you something very interesting story of the Pakistan media. Pakistani media today is talking. Yesterday, 2 Pakistani soldiers was killed by the Indian armed forces.
No, but Tahir Malik, I'm sorry. What are you trying to say? What do you mean by trying to pass off opinion as fact? The fact is that there was this fishing boat which was in Indian waters. The fact is that it was chased by the Indian Coast Guard. The fact also is that they ultimately then blew themselves up. The entire boat. It was a suicide mission. What is the opinion that you're saying is being passed off as fact?
Listen, I'm not a state of Pakistan, nor I'm the Pakistani official, so I cannot say anything as a state organ, but what I'm saying as a citizen, the Indian, I see a typical stereotype of Pakistan and India here again. Whatever happens in India, they always sound like a fact. So I think what my point of view is, I don't see anything between people of Pakistan and people of India.
No, Tahir Malik, with all due respect, Tahir Malik, with all due respect, today we are talking basis call intercepts that we have access to. We are talking basis pictures that we have access to. This is strong intel inputs, not like you just wanted to sound off saying that we display, passing of opinion as a fact. No, the point of origin was Karachi. The intercept was made by intel inputs and they intercepted calls which said कि उधर की हवा देख के काम करना, 5-5 लाख रुपए दे दिए गए हैं. And there was a response which said हमें हमारा सामान मिल गया है. These are the 3 intercepts that we have. There is so much more which got the Coast Guard alerted. That was the reason why the central intelligence agencies alerted the Northwest Coast Guard and asked for this intercept. So, sir, there was something sinister happening. Our question is, does the Pakistani establishment know what is happening right under its nose? Was it complicit? Or was it absolutely oblivious to what is happening on its own soil? That's the question, Group Captain Sultan M. Ali. Because this is shocking.
If you're asking me as a Pakistani, I can tell you one thing for sure.
Tahir Malik, I'll come across to you, just bringing in the other guests, sir. Just bringing in all the other guests also. I'm going across to the Group Captain. Yes, Group Captain.
Okay, it's very... hello?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Please, if you have asked me a question, allow me to speak.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, now you see, prima facie, you have a very strong case that a boat was intercepted. The boat, there were probably 4 people on board who blew themselves up. You have caught some intercepts, but 2-3 things stand out. You see, it does not show the complicity of the Pakistani state. That you will have to, establish through evidence which you will have to find, because it is possible. We have been saying all along that these terrorists are non-state actors. They are not necessarily Pakistani, nor do they necessarily have the backing of the Pakistan government or the ISI. I do not know which agency was sponsoring them or whatever, but the fact is that you need to have a little more proof. Kudos to you or to your Coast Guard as well as the other agencies who managed to apprehend them. But I wish you can find a little more evidence before you can, lay the blame squarely on the foot of the Pakistani
Okay, let's bring in
government.
Maruf at this point. Maruf,
Actors.
too premature, too early apparently to be seeing a Pakistani establishment hand in this, because we see again the re-emergence of that familiar term, non-state actors from Pakistan yet again, just like Asab, Kasab and his 9 comrades, all of them non-state actors. Probably these 4 also non-state actors. Pakistani establishment has got its hands clean.
You see, I have 4 or 5 points to make. My first point is to establish, in my view, why there was a linkage between the state and the non-state actors. This happened around the New Year's Eve, when at the same time there was an increase of firing on the LOC and the international border. And that firing can only take place by state actors of Pakistan, who are the armed forces and the rangers. And there was counter-response from India. And the aim was perhaps to deflect attention from what was aimed to be by the state or non-state actors to be a dramatic attack on India, which would have given particularly hardline groups like the LET a shot in the arm. They have been itching to do that for some time. And there is now, I mean, I can quote Pakistani writers in the aftermath of 16 December attack who had said that despite the attacks on Pakistani citizens and the state being in a state of mourning, there are still a consensus or largely of view that India is the enemy number 1 for both the state and the non-state actors in Pakistan. The Taliban's dramatic attack on Peshawar notwithstanding. Second point which I wish to make is the distinguished Pakistani journalist said that he himself doesn't know what kind of information to believe because there's an information blackout in Pakistan. That has always been the case, because in Pakistan the state filters out information. They do not have access to all the information, particularly which could embarrass the state. And this has been right from 1947-48 operations in J&K. I was just reading an interesting comment by Christine Fair in a book on Fighting to the End about the Pakistan Army, in which she says whole lot of Pakistani documents that are there of the 47-48 operations do not really reflect that there was really a conflict with India, and they feel it was part of the unfinished business of partition and the violence that went with it. So there is a convoluted sense of information that goes out to the people. Only a handful of people are in the know. The third point which I wish to make is that in Pakistani's military establishment, there is a fair amount of infiltration of hardline groups. This has led to the attacks on the PNS Mehran and then the PNS Zulfikar, both in and around Karachi. And these are high-profile attacks which are carried out by terrorists with connivance by some naval personnel. I'm not saying all naval personnel are suspect in Pakistan, but these people have managed to infiltrate the state. And the state apparatus does continue to use them and see them as strategic assets. Please remember that in the aftermath of the 16 December attacks in Peshawar, there has been no clear consensus, and I quote an article in the Dawn which says The Poison Within, dated 20th December, which says that nobody in Pakistan is talking about the real poison in Pakistan, which is the jihadi groups like LET, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, Jamaat-ud-Dawa and a whole lot of others who are holding sway. They have huge public opinion, and I have now with me through the highest sources in the Indian government who tell me in confidence yesterday, who told me that Nawaz Sharif is only 50% in control. So to blame it all on Nawaz Sharif's steps again wouldn't be right. There are elements who are operating outside state control. They are state elements, they are state forces, and they operate with non-state actors. Where this was headed
Maruf,
to,
let's bring in a rebut.
It would have been interesting to see to its logical end, but quite clearly, Anand, this is the last point, quite clearly, the aim was to do a dramatic attack on an Indian coastal town, either Jamnagar, Porbander or Mumbai High, which would then again give them a sense of deniability. Now people are saying, why should you say this boat has come from Karachi? Because that's where the intercepts came from. The boat didn't come from the Gulf or the African coastline. You know, all those people who intercepted it clearly saw it coming from where it came. And as you brought out, there is evidence in terms of transcripts. There is transmissions that were taking place. This was exactly the pattern of the 26/11 attacks. For India, we are capable, but we are still vulnerable because there is a misfit between what the Coast Guard can do, which is shown on the ground in the high seas, and what the coastal police is capable of doing. So we have our soft spots, and which are going to be exploited.
True, and going back to Tahir Malik on that, you saw Maruf Raza raise some very keen points there and precise there. But Tahir Malik, we have your own defense minister, Khwaja Asif. saying this in September 16, after September 16, 2014, with what happened with the Zulfikar. He has said that without assistance from inside, these people could not have breached security. And soon after that, all across the subcontinent, there were high alerts that even the US had issued an alert that Pakistan, elements within Pakistan are planning a maritime assault on Indian soil. Now, these are not our comments, sir. And look at the trail of events and how it is all built up to what happened on the night of 31st December. There is seriously an issue.
Let me tell you, Pakistan does not mean one minister. Pakistan does not mean 5 people. Pakistan means 180 million people. And I believe I am born Pakistani, I am born Lahore. I know we are peace-loving people. We don't believe in killing. My point towards I see Indian media, again, very stereotype. I wish to see Indian media sound more like a people's media. I'm feeling like I'm talking to some government official sitting in Delhi. So my point of view is Pakistan and Indian media should be sound more. It should be between more people to people than between Islamabad and Delhi. I have no idea. I'm not representative of the state of Pakistan, but I can tell you.
Fair enough. Of course, you're peace-loving people, but unfortunately, it's not you. It's not you who's deciding your policy towards India. Maruf Raza wants to rebut that, but I also want to get in Commodore GJ Singh at this point. And we're talking about all these terror alerts which had come in the past few months. The fact is that after the December 16th attack, Commodore GJ Singh, just a second, Maruf. All right, Maruf, quick point for you.
Commodore Saab, I request your patience just for 30 seconds.
Just a quick point.
Maruf Raza wanted to make a quick rebuttal. I'll come to you, Commodore Sir. Commodore Singh,
sir, please listen to me. Sir, please listen. Sir, please, quick point. Quick point is that people say that the Indian media is voicing the government's opinion. The people of India are united on one central issue, that we will not tolerate any more terror attacks on Indian soils, on Indian citizens. In Pakistan, there is a disconnect between what your people-to-people relationship with us is and what your establishment's view of us is. It is not the case here. Our establishment is not that hawkish and our people are not that passive. Please understand, there is a difference between how we approach the problem and how you approach the problem.
Right, Maruf, you made a point. Sushant Sareen, coming to you.
Yes, a quick point from Sushant Sareen also.
Yeah, but first, Commodore Singh. Go ahead, sir. Commodore Singh.
I got to go, so I just have a small point to make.
Sushant Sareen, request you just 2 minutes. We'll get Commodore Singh to make a point, and then I'll come to you, Sushant Sareen. He's been waiting for a while. Yes, Commodore Singh.
Yeah, no, I want to make the point that it is not difficult to understand the complicity of Pakistan state. You don't need a rocket science. As a naval officer, let me tell you that the fishing boats are always hugging the coastline. They do not go very far deep into the sea. And at the same time, they always make sure that they are in sight of the coastline, because they do not have the equipment, they do not have the capability to go 320 kilometers or miles west of Porbander. The very position of the boat is an indication that this cannot be done without the Pakistan ISI and the Navy direction, instruction, guidance. It can only come to that point once it is shepherded by them. Let me complete.
Yes, sir.
And at the same time, it is well known. People have been talking about 50%, control with Nawaz Sharif and all that. I would say that in Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, I would say in Pakistan, the democracy is just an ornamental democracy. He does not have any say. The final shots are said by the army, by the ISI. And therefore, to understand that the boat was on a malified intent to, come and strike on our oil rigs or Jamnagar, I think it could be Jamnagar, because it's a Gujarat state, and probably we want to give a message to the Prime Minister here. Because Pakistan, as it has been well established, is known to create terrorism in India. I would
absolutely. And before we get Group Captain Sultan Hali to respond to that, I want to get in Sushant Sareen also. Sushant Sareen, in the aftermath of the December 16 attack in Peshawar, Hafiz Saeed within hours got on TV, said India is responsible for this and we will make them pay.
Yeah, look, now I'll tell you what the problem is. I would go along with the Pakistani guests up to a point where they say that, and in fact our own analysts have been talking about this on your program, there are non-state actors who have, for example, tried to hijack Pakistani ships. Obviously, that was not with the permission of the Pakistani establishment, that the Al-Qaeda was trying to hijack a Pakistani ship for whatever it wanted to do. The problem, however, comes when some of these other groups, which are so-called non-state actors, also have very, very close links with state actors, and I'm talking in particular about groups like the LET. So when Pakistanis make that distinction, that is sellable only up to a point, but it's not sellable when it comes to some of the groups like the LET and others, which work practically like auxiliaries of the Pakistani state. And that is where the problem comes in. Now, in this particular instance, the problem, we don't know what the target was. It could have been Jamnagar, it could just have been some guys, some jihadists who were smuggling weapons or explosives or some other stuff into India, and it could be part of some larger conspiracy. We don't know. Like I said, there is still not enough information in the public domain. There are certain facts which are known to us, and we are making some analysis on the basis of those facts. All of the facts are not in, and perhaps it will be a couple of days before we get to learn a lot more about this whole incident than what we know at present. But on the basis of what we know as of now, on the basis of those facts, and the very thing that here are these guys, fishermen would probably surrender, smugglers would probably surrender, and probably live to fight another day. Jihadists would not. And I think it was important for the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard did, from the press release it's clear, did try to apprehend these guys, did try to get custody of these fellows, but these guys were desperados, and they wanted to go down
fact
with
is,
their
Sushant
vessel,
Sareen, and I'm going to go across to Group Captain
and reveal certain other things. So I think,
well, no, the fact is, like you've reiterated and like you've said, they fired warning shots, Group Captain. They told them to wait on, we want to investigate who you are. They turned towards the international borders. It was a 60-minute chase in the high seas. This boat was unlit. Now, they were making regular calls to land, and the handlers were based in Karachi, as the intercepts show very clearly. There is a wireless set that has been recovered. It's not that all was lost. There is a wireless set that has been recovered. It is of Pak Army make. It's a serious issue, sir. If elements within the establishment, within the army, are working in cahoots with the Lashkar-e-Taiba, officially or unofficially, they no longer remain non-state actors, sir.
You see, in response to your question, I can only state that, you see, it does not show the complicity of the state. When I am insisting on non-state actors, you gave yourself, or your worthy guest from India, gave the example of the attack on PNS Mehran, which was having inside information, having personnel of the Pakistan Navy who were probably recruited by the jihadis, and then the recent example of the PNS Zulfikar, that was also with the complicity of certain people who had been compromised. But these were not false flag exercises. These were
but that was with the Al-Qaeda, sir.
Where there are people, and that is our problem.
That was with the Al-Qaeda. This we are talking about Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jamaat-ud-Dawa, which enjoy patronage, because Nawaz Sharif stopped short of naming Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jamaat-ud-Dawa when he promised to weed out terrorism from Pakistani soil. He stuck only to the Taliban. He focused only towards the western frontiers of Pakistan. He did not talk about what's happening on Pak soil towards the Indian borders. He has not made a reference. That's why we ask you. And time and again, evidences after 26/11, time and again have clearly shown the ISI's complicity. And that's why this claim of non-state actors doesn't stand.
Okay, let's drop the non-state actor thing, but you see, I would like to respond. I would like to respond to your statement that Nawaz Sharif has not talked about the other jihadis or the terrorists, because it has been made very clear that this is going to be an across-the-board action. And even today, our parliament was in session, and tomorrow morning they are going to pass a resolution, and this is going to be across the entire soil of Pakistan. It's not going to be selective.
The comments so far, we have to wait and see on that, whether or not.
Anand, I think you know that this
coming to
Pakistani argument.
Yes, Maruf.
Anand, this Pakistani argument that it's going to be across the board. I'm sorry, because let me quote 4 writers from Pakistan in the aftermath of 16 December attacks. Bina Sarwar, Hussain Haqqani, Aisha Siddiqa and Khalid Ahmed. All 4 of them have said that Pakistan needs to change its narrative. Its narrative is very strongly, at least for the military establishment, anti-India, and they continue to see groups like the Lashkar-e-Toiba, the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, Jamaat-ud-Dawa, a whole lot of others as strategic assets. The second point which I wish to bring out is that in Pakistan, there are even smaller terror groups who are fighting for their political survival. And the one way they can achieve political importance and get back into the play of things, which is the model of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, and I quote it from a number of books that have been written on that, most importantly Stephen Tankel's book Storming the World Stage, in which they use attacks on India to recruit more people, to get more funding, to get more importance. And those who say that there is no role of the Pakistani establishment, let me remind you that when Zikrur Rahman Lakhvi was put under arrest on the 7th on 8th of December 2008 at the Adiala jail, the first person who went to meet him was General Shuja Pasha, who asked him to give complete deniability of ISI's role there. This is recorded information which is available. David Headley has attested to that. Ajmal Qasab has attested to that.
And that marks this operation as well, doesn't it, Ambassador Kesi Singh? Because here the boat has been blown up. So essentially, this is what Pakistan is going to claim. We'd got nothing to do with this entire operation. The evidence has all been obliterated. Ambassador Kesi Singh. Commander Jir Singh, before I come to you, can I please get Kesi Singh in?
This is not... Yes, I think what we need to do is, let's maturely jump a couple of stages ahead. This time, let's have all the information that we have, try getting as much as we can from the ocean or from the capsized boat, and then test Pakistan's intent. Because after all, if the intercepts are there for broadcast coming out of Karachi, they must arrest those people. So this should be something which should be taken up with the Pakistan government with proper evidence, whatever is available with us, and ask them to now prove their honesty of purpose. Are they willing to take steps or not? As Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif said in his speech, he did say, although he did not name Lashkar-e-Taiba, but after the Quetta attack, after the Peshawar attack, he did say that all terrorism must be obliterated. So this is a test case, and we must take it up with Pakistan. But take it up not with rhetoric and with emotion and using past arguments, but take it up with actual evidence. And present it to the global community, present it to other fora, and say this is what is happening. This is freedom of the high seas. You cannot be doing these things across high seas. Let me just add one point.
Yes,
I think one of where I would add that probably a target could have been Gujarat, because there are 2 things happening there. Prime Minister is going there. There is the big Gujarat conference, and then there is the Pravasi Divas. So there are 2 major events taking place where international community, Indians from all over the world are coming. A lot of business community, major business corporations are converging on Gujarat. So if you were to have an attack at this stage, either in a port or in Ahmedabad, it would have caused chaos and caught the global attention. Absolutely. So it is possible that the target this time was some place in Gujarat.